guess what? I am in recovery. Yes, I'm in recovery. Believe it or not, I'm in recovery from being a perfectionist. How many perfectionists out here? Raise your hand. I see you. So I'm not alone. There are some perfectionists in the room. Let me tell you when my perfection started, when I was in elementary school. It started because I always wanted to be able to receive one of these. A plus. A's. A's meant superior. A's mean excellent. A's meant perfect. And that's what I wanted. I wanted that to be my story. But sometimes I end up getting one of these. One of these. If you were around when your teacher gave you one of these, it was one of these. It was long paper folded. And what did that mean? That meant that you didn't do so well. Where are all my Gen Xers in the house? All right, Gen X. If you were a part of the pre-digital generation, you automatically know what this meant. That meant your teacher folding your paper wanted to save you the embarrassment because you didn't do so well. But this folded paper was also the thing that set my trajectory on trying to be the best person that I could. I wanted to be that person who always got the accolades, who always got the awards, who always did well. I wanted an A plus on everything. So when the awards came, I got applause. When the certificates came, I got attaboys. I got so many different things, y'all. I was blushing all the time. But the thing that really got to me was doing all that, I was exhausted. After the awards was exhaustion. After all the awards was anxiety. That's what I was receiving. But then one night at probably around 3 a.m., I had this conversation with myself. You know what that conversation was? It went a little something like this. It said that, why am I trying so hard to be enough when I already am? That was a tough question for me to be able to ask myself, but I struggle with that. And so, for the next few minutes, I want to be able to tell you what I learned in my life. My story was I learned that excellence wasn't the absence of flaws, but it was the presence of grace. It was the presence of grace. And so, one of the things I know, I've already asked this one time, but I'm going to ask it again. How many of you felt like you were a perfectionist? There were several. So I know this is just not my story, but it is our story. We all carry the same story. So the psychologists, Thomas Kernan and Andrew Hill, they had made a statistic for over 30 years. They said that young people said that perfection was a way of life for them. Over 30%. Perfection. You know what that translates as? We have an entire generation of people who are afraid to fail. Young people who are afraid to fail. What does it also mean for us? We are looking for a worthiness within other people that we could not find within ourselves. We have to be able to find that worthiness in ourselves. Because there's something beyond those claps and those applauses that should allow us to be able to get through and know that we are excellent without those claps and applauses. One of the things I remember is I used to be a marketing consultant. And I remember going to a client's office one day and I had to do a PowerPoint presentation. Y'all, my PowerPoint presentation was on point. It was so good that it was almost ready for Harvard or Princeton. That's how good it was. And so the thing that I really, really wanted was I wanted them to really like it. And so at the end of it, the client said, "Oh my God, John, that was so awesome. Oh my God, John, that was great." But what they did not know was that night before, I was up till 2 or 3 a.m. working on that PowerPoint. What they did not know was my hands were wringing wet. What they did not know was my knees were shaking because I was so nervous that it would not be perfect. Perfect. Why are we always struggling with this idea and notion of perfect and being excellent when we already are? One of the things we have to be able to understand is we have young people looking at us as adults. And being that they're looking at us, they're looking at what we do and what we don't do. But young people, they are afraid to make mistakes. What they're doing is they are getting to the point where they are afraid to make mistakes and they are making their own way, which is dangerous. But one of the things we have to be able to understand is we have to know that there is always an opportunity for us to be able to right correct. The right correct is where we're going to have to go. And so one of the things that we also have to be able to understand is this. Perfection gets you nowhere, but excellence gets you everywhere. And you have to be able to know there's a difference. There is a difference. So one of the things I love as a therapist, I always like to use analogies. And so here's one analogy for you. The analogy is bamboo and glass. Glass is beautiful. Glass is shiny. Glass is brilliant. But whenever it goes through something, glass is also fragile. It's brittle and it'll break. But then when you think about bamboo, y'all know green bamboo. When you think about bamboo, bamboo does this. Whenever there's a storm coming, it doesn't bend. It doesn't break, it just bends and it sways back and forth. So at the end of the storm, guess what? It's still there. And so one of the things you have to be able to understand here at TEDxMallard Creek is this. Do you want to be bamboo or do you want to be glass? Are you easily broken when the troubles come your way, or are you able to stand whenever the storms come? Those are things that we have to think about, because most people don't bond over perfection. We bond over imperfections, don't we? We bond over the bloopers. We bond over the blunders. We bond over those crazy things, those Me Too moments, not those Me Too moments, but those Me Too moments we bond over. Those are the things that we bond over, so we can make connection with those imperfections and not always with perfection. One of the things I also love to be able to do, I love to be able to hear good music. We heard some good music today, didn't we? And so one of the things I love an orchestra. And so one of the orchestra instruments is a violin. And so in the orchestra instrument of the violin, a violinist has to be able to tune that instrument. And to be able to do that, you have to tighten that string. If it's tightened too hard, the string will do what? Break. But if it's not tightened too hard, it will not play because it's too loose. We have to be able to understand, y'all, that it has to be tuned just right. And that's what excellence and perfection are. You have to be able to know that it needs to be tuned just right for it to be able to make good music. Because this is not about a grind. You grinding yourself to make yourself important to somebody else. Guess what it's about? It's about a groove. It's about a groove, making good music for each and every person who is a part of your life or who will be a part of your life. You got to find your groove. So being that you have to be able to find your groove, you have to be able to find it in any place possible. But finding a groove is hard. Finding a groove is difficult. Again, as a clinical therapist, one of the things I always have to do is I always have clients to come in my office and we talk about so many different things. But the same thing that we normally end up talking about is this one thing, and I'm sure many of you can identify. They always say, John, I want to know that I am enough. At the end of the day, they want to know that I am enough. And so I give them the testimony that I had to realize for myself. You know what that was? You are already enough before you even came in here. You have been enough from the beginning of time, and you will always be enough. And being that you will always be enough, it doesn't matter what your income is, what your social status is, or how much money you make. Your income, your social status, or anything else is not your adult report card. And it does not measure your worthiness. You have to be able to understand that true excellence comes from within, knowing who you are. That's where excellence comes from. Last story. I remember one day I was going to a counseling session, and this is what happened to me. Y'all want to know how I got pretty much broken from my idea of perfection? Y'all want to know? Good. So here is the thing. I want to be able to tell you my big breakthrough story. There wasn't a lightning flash or a thunderclap. It wasn't any of those things. Y'all know what it was? It was a cup of coffee. It was a cup of coffee. Y'all, I had spilled some coffee all on my shirt. And again, what am I? I am a perfectionist at this time. And so I was thinking about that cup of coffee and how I had spilled it on my shirt, and I had a counseling session that I had to be able to do. And so the old John wanted to go home, change his clothes, and go to that session, but I knew I did not have enough time. So I made the decision to be able to go with the coffee stain on my shirt. And when I went into that room, y'all, my client said, "Oh, look at you. You are actually real. You are not perfect." And so one of the things that I learned that day is something that set me free. I was able to go in with that stain, but I was also able to be free because I did not let what other people thought bother me. I did not allow that to be able to bother me or bother who I thought that I needed to be for that person. And so, a lot of times we wonder if we are worthy enough. We already are worthy enough. But the other thing is, many of us still suffer from when we were in elementary school, middle school, and high school. Y'all remember that paper? Y'all remember that paper? That folded paper? So one of the things I want you to do when you go home today, I want you to get you a paper yourself. And I want you to do this one simple thing that I'm getting ready to do. I ripped it up. Why did I rip it up? I ripped it up because this is a part of my party. What kind of party? This is my confetti for my freedom party. Because you need to be able to be set free from all the stuff that you have been doing. To know that you are enough and you will always be enough. Because one of the things you have to be able to understand is you are enough when you came into this world, and you will always be enough before you leave out. So the true message of today is excellence isn't the absence of flaws, but is the true presence of grace. And what you have to be able to know is this: learn to give yourself some grace. Learn to give other people some grace. Know that grace is possible not only for others, but know that grace is more important for you. Thank you, TEDxMallard Creek. Have a wonderful day.